In this weekly live stream, we're going to be getting into some of the latest functions in our PowerCity dApps, along with the latest in the DeFi and crypto space. But with no further ado, back in the house by popular demand, Mr. Just Ask Jesse.
Hey y'all, hey y'all.
Good to see you, man, on this, or depending on where you are in the world, maybe it's a Wednesday, maybe it's a Tuesday. We can see that. So let me share this tab and just have a look at the markets before we get into anything else. Bitcoin down a little bit, Ethereum down a little bit, a bit of a pullback, but still above 100K. That looks pretty solid. How are you feeling, Jesse, about it all?
Yeah, I mean, what's down? I mean, if we're going back and forth between 108 and 104, 2%, 3% swings are not really uncommon in crypto. First reaction is to get scared. It's like, oh, we see red. It's like, oh, it's just 2 or 3%. Like, that's normal,
Well, I'm quite happy with, 2-3% is that's a Tuesday morning, in the stock market, everyone's losing their marbles if something like that happens, but crypto is just another day in the office. For me, I like seeing Ethereum stable above 2.5. Obviously, we find support there. We keep going up. I think a lot of people in the Pulse chain ecosystem have a kind of vested interest in how that does. In other news, have you seen? What do you make of this? I'm not sure if you saw this yet. The SEC, what its latest moves are, and what it's legally says you can stake and what you can't. And it talks about staking for validators and proof of stake, and how that's not going to be classed as a security because you're helping the network. So some interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's a positive development, right? So before anything and everything, they were trying to say, oh, that's going to be a security. Oh, staking is, against the rules. And now they're kind of backing off and saying, well, you're supporting the ecosystem. Maybe you're earning some fees from some people along the way, but that's not, that doesn't mean you're participating in unregistered securities or something.
Yeah, I think it's pretty positive because before, like you said, they're blanketing, staking is security and black and white basically, but now it's getting more nuanced, hopefully with this administration, which is more crypto friendly. The change in the head of the SEC, we're seeing things that are more nuanced, which is proof of stake is not security, but then obviously some other things are classed. So obviously look into it if you're interested in staking and what's seen as security and what's not. But an interesting development nonetheless for proof of stake chains like Ethereum and like Pulse chain. Also, I came across this yesterday for people who might want to be interested in living in another part of the world, or my part of the world. Thailand approves 5-year crypto tax exemption. So
yeah, so that's crazy, isn't it?
Yep. So if you live in Thailand, you don't have to pay capital gains tax from now until 2029, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, so let the bull market just run up until 2030, and all those gains be tax free. That's insane. That's crazy. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah,
but it's like never before heard of.
It's interesting. I mean, Thailand's an interesting place, right? Kind of like Bali, it attracts a lot of digital nomads, a lot of people in crypto. It's trying to position itself, obviously, as a hub for this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that it just comes out of the blue, and for 4 or 5 years, you could live in Thailand and make gains and be tax free. But it's all bullish. It's all bullish because as time goes by, we want more countries adopting, we want more areas of the world adopting more crypto-friendly tax regulations. But moving on, we've had a bit of an update, haven't we, to some of our protocols?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done is realized a while back, this was on our our little internal roadmap, but Liquidity forks, when they're first made, they really only connect to MetaMask. They could connect to Rabby because Rabby is like a version of MetaMask, kind of the way Rabby was designed. But you can really only connect them to MetaMask. So Earn Protocol, we did some work, and we now have the ability to connect to all sorts of different wallets. Look at what happens when you click More Available.
Okay, let me just get that.
Right there on the button.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. So other wallets. So if you click that, you'll see, you can basically connect to any type of wallet that you have, as long as it has Wallet Connect. You can scan this QR code. You can also copy the code to your clipboard and paste it in your your wallet browser or whatever, and you can connect into the DApp from any wallet, nearly any wallet. There's probably a handful out there that are unusual.
Well, the ones that you couldn't.
Nearly everything uses Wallet Connect now, so you all should be good to go using whatever wallet you want.
And the ones you probably can't do are quite niche, right? But the main ones are going to be covered, correct? So
right.
And obviously that makes it more accessible to more people. Talking about accessible, look at that PXDC price.
Always $1. Isn't that
always
amazing?
$1? Always $1 at the moment, just a touch over $1. So is this available for just Earn at the moment, or is this
just Earn? It'll come out to Flex in time.
Yeah. So,
and if people notice the front end was down, for a short while in the middle of the dark of night in America last night, this is why. Okay, the front end was getting this updated into it. There may be other front ends that people have spooled up to run Earn. That's fine. That's cool. And in fact, we have Amplifier, which serves as a front end. All those would have stayed up and running. The contracts are always live. They're, impossible. They're immutable and unchangeable, right? But the website itself was down just for a short while, so this could be implemented into it.
Well, that's the great thing about DeFi, right? Is that you have, unlike a centralized exchange, right? Let's just say a centralized exchange goes down. If that goes down, that's down. But if you have something like Liquidity or Liquid Loans or Earn or Flex or Ink Printer, there's different, it's DeFi. And if there's different front ends, if people are running different front ends, right, you can access it from anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Betty asks if the sites are down. This would be one example last night or something, or because of Cloudflare. Are you able to show me how to interact with the contracts? That's not my expertise. I can certainly get a little write-up done for you, how that's done. If you go on our main website, PowerCity.io, and scroll down to the bottom and find the document section, and then look for Earn Protocol or Flex Protocol, you'll actually be able to read through there and get all the contract addresses. All right. And you can go to a block explorer such as scan.pulsechain.com, and you can write to each one of those contracts. So if you can connect your wallet, right? You can go in there, and then you can unstake and stake and do all those things, right? So let's say our website went down and you're like, oh no, I have a stake in there. What am I going to do? You can still grab the contract addresses, go to scan.pulsechain.com, right to the connect, right to the contract, end your stake, bam, your coins are in your wallet, do whatever you want with them. or just participate that way, which would kind of suck, not having a front end or an interface or something. We do hope in time other people spool up their own front ends. These front ends really aren't that complicated. I don't want to say they're not complicated, but they can be very basic, with like 4 functions on them, 4 major functions on them. And for people that go to look at how there's like 80 different Liquidity front ends, and nearly all of them look identical. It's because there's a kit out there for you to just reproduce a front end. You can take that kit and essentially build your own front end for Earn protocol if you wanted to. Run it from a desktop if you wanted to, if you know how to do that, right? But let me see if one of our team members could write up a little how to interact with the contracts directly.
Have you seen on Ethereum now, Liquidity, the original Liquidity, they don't have their own front end, right? So all the front ends are other third-party providers.
Right. I mean, they say they don't have a front end, right? At some point, they had to go live with the contracts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same day they went live with the contracts, magically a front end appeared.
Mm-hmm.
And then magically a whole bunch of front ends appeared. So it is quite possible that the team had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 front ends ready to go. So when they launched the contracts, there was tons of them. And then they just said, "Oh yeah, we're not running any front ends." That they could be lying to the community essentially. But there are 80, and some of them they do have significant differences in the way they look and feel from others. Most of them feel the same, but there are some that have significant differences. So there are at least a handful of teams or people that have launched their own Liquidity front ends. I assume, even though they say they don't have a front end, I assume that Liquidity probably has, a few of their own. They'll never admit it, right? They want to look like, oh, we just launched the contracts. That's all we did. We don't support anything.
And I can understand why they would want to come across like that, but it's also good to have that variation in case, as we know, one point of failure, as we've seen with centralized exchanges, FTX or whatever, pick your poison, to have those different, places where you can go and it's really just a front end. That's obviously what we'd like on Pulse Chain at some point. Other people creating their own front ends. So if one is down, you can use another. And as we've talked about here, we've got Amplifier, which is basically an automatic. You can basically put your yield. You can compound your yield from liquid loans, from Earn, and that, as we've talked about, you can get very granular with that. You can set up all these different strategies. You can create a custom strategy, or if you don't want to do that, you can just use it as a front end for liquid loans. So you can open a vault, you can stake, you can access the stability pool. Quite a handy function I like is the compound all button. So as you know, if you're collecting yield from different places, even if it's on Pulse Chain and the, it's not expensive to run a for a transaction, it's still annoying, isn't it? Clicking all these buttons, you can hit the compound all button and compound everything in one go. So you can use Amplifier for a simple front end, like we've talked about for Earn, for liquid loans, or you can use it for something more granular, like an automatic compounding strategy. Check that out. Obviously, everything's on our website. All of our live dApps are on our website, which is obviously POWERCITY.io. What are your thoughts at the moment? Obviously, as we know, markets up a bit, down a little bit. We know you like stable coins, Jesse. Let's talk a little bit about. We know that we've got some on Fast Abdul. We've got some pools on Fox and on 2Fox. How can people earn yield with stable coins on Pulse Chain?
So there's several different ways, or a couple different ways of this, right? So you could just own a variety of stable coins and then go to PHUX protocol and just pair them, right? And you don't even need to own all of them. You can just take one and drop it in the pool. And basically what happens is people trade through these stable coins, and it happens automatically too, right? So when people sell one coin for another, sometimes it routes through the stable coins. So there's trades happening all the time. And if you're just sitting in there in that pool with stable coins, you really have no impermanent loss, but you're just sitting there and your number's going up. You're earning all the trading fees. And you're also earning some PHUX tokens, right? Which you can also stake or do whatever you want with. You can sell them or whatever, right? So that's one way. The other way is to just drop them into the stability pool and earn the reward token, the incentive token for doing so. And if there's ever any liquidations, you also would capture those liquidations. Some of your stables would burn, but you'd capture the liquidated collateral at a discount. And then you can swap it back if you want or whatever. But those are two different ways to earn yield, simply by holding and staking in some form or fashion your stables.
Yeah, I think liquidity providing can be a bit scary for people, especially if they don't know what they're doing, right, with ranges, and if impermanent loss, and if it moves against you, you're going to maybe lose one asset. But with stable coins, they're stable. People are trading. People need to trade in and out of stable coins, and if you can park them there rather than parking them in your wallet and not getting anything, you've got Fox, you've got 2Fox as well, where you can take those tokens and stake like a whale. So still multiple ways. This is the time when the markets aren't pumping. This is the time. I mean, not financial advice, but to learn about different ways to make yield, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not just waiting. I mean, I like your approach, which is a balanced approach. Yeah, of course, have different plays. Have a little bit of have some hodl plays, have some stablecoin plays, have some LP, even have a bit of meme, right, for fun, if that's your thing. But having everything, all your eggs in one basket, and like I did when I first got into crypto, it was just like, oh, buy this and hope it's going to go up. And it's evolved so much that you've got so many different things you can do. Just like in life, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But also, you've got now 4 protocols for the blue chips, where you don't even need to sell if it does go up. So not only can you make stablecoin yield on different plays and stuff, you can also not even sell your assets when they hit your price targets.
Absolutely. So I personally like to stake stables and then use those yields for other things. Sometimes to pull out in cash, cash out with. Sometimes to buy some speculative things and just hold on to a variety of speculative things. Sometimes to just keep stacking stables. Right? And to me, it's like, it just feels like, oh, the number goes up, and if one of those speculative stables, loses, it's like, oh, well, that was the yield I got anyway. It's like, I don't feel like I lost anything.
I also think it's good for the mindset as well to be able to. You're just learning what's possible. You're learning what's possible, but when before you might think, oh, I want to buy this for $1,000 and sell it for $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000. But when you can wrap your mind around staking and liquidity providing and getting yield from different places, as well as price appreciation, it just opens up new possibilities to you and shows you that you don't have to be gambling. You don't have to have the mindset where it's burning a hole in your pocket. So I've got to sell it and I've got to buy something new, maybe something that's going to depreciate in value. Remember, the wealthy or the rich have a different mindset. They like to buy assets that increase, right? They like to put their money to work for them. They like to take loans against their assets, which in some places are tax-free, So it's really, without being like, too harsh, it's about getting rid of maybe the middle class mindset, which is kind of like just making enough to survive and retire at 65, and actually adopting the wealthier mindset, which is buy assets, make money from those assets, and then buy more things, right? And buy more assets.
Yeah.
And
Something else though. There's people like Fast Abdul who are simply here just because he likes the tech.
There are. Fast Abdul's here for the tech only, putting out new things for the tech, new pools on 2FUCKS all the time for the tech.
Yep.
Well, we're hoping the tech starts to come into play later in 2025, and we can all do better on this tech that we've been betting on for the last, I don't know, how long have you been in crypto now, Jesse?
Shoot, man. 2018, maybe.
Okay. So you started as an investor.
Actually, I owned crypto back in like 2010, a couple years after Bitcoin.
What?
Well, yeah. Okay. I used Bitcoin for.
Were you buying weed on the Silk Road?
Some shady reasons that it was, first used for in the early days.
Okay.
And it used it all. Like, there was no reason to hold on to it back then. Nobody knew what it was going to do, right? Mm. And then, a whole bunch of time passed, and then we'll say 2017, 2018.
Well, you've been in it for a long time as an investor. Now as a founder, it's weird, isn't it? Like how hindsight's 2020. I've got a very good friend who tried to tell me about Bitcoin in 2013. I didn't want to know. I didn't understand it. He sold all his Bitcoin in 2019, and I think he sold it for around a couple of million, which he did pretty well. But he told me now, if he'd have held, he'd be worth close to 100. So
that's ridiculous.
He thought, well, he was getting in it 2012, 2013, right? And he held all the way to 2019. Was looking at a couple of million. Was like, this is it. I've done it, and great. He got out with some good profit. But if there was, I've now educated him on liquidity, on earn, on flex, which has blown his mind.
Uh-huh.
But if there was that capability, right, for Bitcoin in 2019, he could have taken a loan, right? Taken close to 2 million off the table, and then appreciated the rest of the run up.
Yeah, if that tech existed back then, right? And Fast Abdul is talking about that right now. There's tech to take a loan now, and then buy more when the price dumps, right? So if the price dumps, then you took a loan. Like you can't even really be that upset because you just go buy back in and own more than you started with. Yep. Price pumps, you also can't be upset because the price pumps and you're like, oh wow, my collateral value is way up. I can just print more of these these stable coins. So it's like it's kind of a win-win with a 10% risk in there.
Yeah, but 10% risk for infinite upside.
Right.
Infinite upside, 10% risk. I'd risk it all day. Like, again, not financial advice. Do what you got to do. But if you've hit your sell target, right? You've hit like, hey, this is where I was going to sell anyway. Let's see. Let's risk it. Let's see what happens. And now you can do that with Ink. You can do that with Pulse, PulseX, and liquid loans. You can do that with Pulse. So I don't know. It's good to know, right? Good people can do whatever they want. They're adults, but good to know you've got that option there, right?
Oh yeah, it's a good option.
And shout out to Fast Abdul in the chat for making Ink the last, let's say, the last one of the core four possible for people to do that.
Yeah.
So
they're all four core coins of Richards can have stable coins minted against them, and you can take loans them. That's amazing.
Unbelievable. We, you know, when you think about how far Pulse Chain's come from an idea in 2021 to the blockchain being launched in 2023, and then everything that's been built and is still being built on it. I mean, I think we've got a long way to go. But as Fast Admiral says, yeah, a small 0.5% fee for the opportunity to take that chance. Anyway, Jesse, thanks a lot for your time as always. Appreciate your take. Anything else before we wrap this up?
No, we're really excited. We're still doing things at POWERCITY. We have a lot of cool dApps. Don't forget about them, right? We have Portal X Swap that allows you to swap it across any blockchain or on any chain. It shows you all the different available trade routes. It's a really cool tool. It'll save you some time and effort and find you some good rates when you're swapping cryptos around. That is, I don't want to say it's my favorite. Anything we built is kind of my favorite, but this is like a go-to thing. You always have to do swaps, right? And this thing works across multiple chains. So once you start using it or use it a couple times, you'll find yourself using it a lot. And then, of course, we have our lending protocols, our stablecoin protocols. We have our core where you can collect fees from all our different things. We have our amplifier, which allows you to amplify your yield auto compound, your yield from our lending protocols. And that's what we got. And we have other things on the way. Okay.
Yep.
You'll see there's mention of various radio and music things we're kind of hinting at. So we have some cool tools for people to play with coming out soon. We may even have some secret things in the works behind the scenes with our friend Fasta Duel. He's helped us out with some things, and I think we've helped him with a couple things. So we decided if we kind of put our heads together on a couple different things. So we're still working, we're still brainstorming, and we've launched more than we've promised. One of which is difficult, right? Pixel Park in today's market is not quite feasible to launch at the moment, right? But everything else and more we've launched, and we continue to launch things. So keep looking at our X for updates.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thanks for your time as always, Jesse, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. See y'all.
Thanks for watching, guys. And you can find the correct links to any and all of our live dApps in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.